Hey, you. We're going to talk about the economy of the Song Dynasty. Just a little bit of catch up here. Mustard. Anyway, what's the learning objective for this part? Explain the effects of innovation on the Chinese economy over time. Finally, you've been waiting for that forever. Hey, anyone want to guess what this is? That's right, the Grand Canal. You did it, kids. You did it. So I like to look at some continuities in Chinese history and all of them. And even though we just started with the Song Dynasty, I've already talked about the earlier dynasties. So what's some stuff that's happening here? Well, China's been agriculturally based since civilization started in China, going all the way back to even before the Shang Dynasty. Okay, so nothing new about that. The major class of people will be peasants. Look at them here, peasanting it up. They're primarily agrarian, agricultural, producing rice for the most part. They grow some other stuff, but rice is the big one. They also trade a lot. Of course, we have the Silk Road, named for the Chinese product that most of the rest of the world that knew about it desired. It was this great textile that everybody wanted. The Chinese were the first to mass produce it, and it was a state secret, keeping the knowledge of how silk was created and all this. So they didn't even know how it worked in Europe. They thought it grew on trees. And also trading in the ocean. The Indian Ocean here with East Africa, South Asia, the islands of Southeast Asia, the China Sea, etc. China's got the best stuff and everybody wants it, okay? They've got rice, they've got silk, they've got tea, they've got porcelain, they've got iron, and they've got steel, and people want this. So there's some growth happening at this time. The Song economy is going to flourish. They're going to get some innovations in agriculture happening in the Middle Ages in China that's going to help them out a lot. You're going to see an expansion of trade networks, first under the Tang Dynasty and then continuing under the Song, although the Song will be less on Central Asia because the Tang Dynasty was even bigger. And there's going to be some innovations in agriculture. We can see one right here. By the way, this is terrace farming. We're going to see terrace farming in the Americas, in Southeast Asia, and also in China. It's a way to take a hilltop or mountainside, and you can actually flatten it like little steps, and you can farm in it. The biggest innovation to happen from this time period related to economics is champa rice. I've seen this before in the AP test several times. Champa rice is so important because champa rice came from Vietnam and it could be harvested twice a year. It was also drought resistant. So this meant China had a lot more food, and because of this, the population in China is going to explode. It was already big, and now it just gets bigger. We've talked about it to death in class, I feel like, already, but there is the Grand Canal. It's this Grand Canal, if you will, because that's exactly what it is. It's going to link the river systems of China, specifically the Yellow River or the Huanghe River and the Yangtze River. Again, my Mandarin, perfecto, I know. We're also going to see an increase in steel and iron production. Sometimes historians will even call this China's quote-unquote industrial revolution. It's obviously not on the same scale as Europe's industrial revolution, but there is an increase in steel and iron production. And then the creation of a lot of export materials, for example, silk, and here you see women dyeing silk, and porcelain. Also, this is known as a golden age in China. You're going to see a lot of inventions and innovations. One of the biggest we're going to see on history here is gunpowder. Gunpowder technology comes out of China, and through the help especially of the Mongols later on after they conquered the Song Dynasty, this technology is going to move across Eurasia and eventually into Europe. They probably invented a magnetic compass. We see some early forms of it. And another huge innovation is movable type printing. Now you're like, but I thought Johannes Gutenberg invents the printing press. Well, he invents the printing press in Western Europe. But this idea of moving characters around and all that kind of thing to make movable type printing, that had already been done. And so it comes out of China, maybe Korea, but it's coming out of East Asia at this time period. And also remember that China during the Han Dynasty, they had already invented paper. Now, this had started to make its way into the Middle East, into South Asia, and eventually will make its way into Europe. This is a little bit before the Song Dynasty, but paper comes out of this golden age, at least the spread of paper. Paper was there for centuries before, but now it's spreading to the rest of the world. China has really got some great things. Lastly, we need to talk about the tribute system in China. In the tribute system, it was this expression of the Chinese concept of the Middle Kingdom, and really a national expression of the superior-inferior relationship we see with Confucianism. It's the idea that China is the Middle Kingdom. It is the center of the world. All culture emanates out of it. And what would happen with the tribute system is outsiders would come. They would do something called the kowtow, in which it's bowing and prostrations, and they would spin and kiss and touch the ground and bow and all this stuff, and they'd pay respect to the emperor or an image of the emperor, and in doing so, they would open up political and economic relationships with China. They would exchange gifts and everything, but frequently the Chinese gifts could be worth even more. This was all about showing off Chinese superiority. Sometimes the Chinese would use it to save face with nomads. Maybe they'd use it kind of as a ransom. But know what the tribute system is. Know that it creates stability. It stimulates trade. Know that eventually places as far as East Africa are going to enter into the tribute system as well. Okay, that's it. Bye.